what's up guys, and welcome to today's video where we're going to be taking a look at the most repetitive games. 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 Taking a look at the most...
Normally, when we think of repetitive games, we talk about games that seem a bit samey. Not in this case. This game is not only exactly the same each time, but every level is exactly the same. But, you know, just faster. Yes, we're talking about the most repetitive, in a good way, game ever. Tetris. Tetris represents a really interesting side of gaming, as not only is it simplistic, repetitive, and impossible to complete, but yet somehow still fun. It's quite baffling, really. I mean, why would you play a game that you can't win? And yet we do. And we love it, as the blocks fall faster and faster and our heart rate goes up and you're getting to that point when you could destroy a huge chunk of rows all in one go if you could only get one of those long ones, and all you get is those weird step ones that ruin your beautiful order. It's pretty much the perfect example of gaming flow there is. You reach an enlightened state where you are the blocks. Come on, no one needs that L block, it's gonna ruin everything, just forget it.
One of the most repetitive games I have ever played, but for some reason just can't seem to put down, is Destiny. It doesn't matter what you're doing within the game, whether you're fighting players in the Crucible, completing strikes with your friends, and even praying to Bungie that you'll get an exotic doing your weekly Nightfall, and then there's even the difficult 6-man raids, but you just can't get over the fact that you are doing the exact same thing every single time. Shoot a load of bad guys, kill a boss that has slightly more health than everyone else, and then collect your loot. Now, I'm not complaining, as I've had some of the most fun playing Destiny with my friends. There's this sort of calming aura that comes along with it, where it's just relaxing, enjoyable fun until the Cryptarch just constantly gives you a load of rubbish loot from your engram that you have no use for whatsoever. The game just revolves around that continuous grind to get better guns, better armor, and just puts you into a weekly routine of completing your Nightfall, checking what Xur has for the week, and getting as many marks in the Crucible as you possibly can.
In the first Assassin's Creed, Brotherhood leader Rashid knew what Altair was good at and made sure he stuck to it. Off he sent you on missions to kill Templars, where you'd have to ride your horse to where they were, sneak up to them by blending in with some monks, and then stab them and get the hell out of there. You'd then head back to the Brotherhood and, oh, some more Templars you want me to kill, and I need to ride my horse to where they are, and sneak up to them by blending in with some monks, and then stab them and get the hell out of there. Okay, and that's not even mentioning all the flags to collect. In total, there were 420 that Altair could pick up on his travels. Look, the Brotherhood just really pride themselves on their flag collection, alright? Also, alongside the regular assassinations, there were 60 special Templars dotted around the game world that players had to track down and kill. Okay, boss, any chance of the other Brotherhood assassins giving me a hand with all of this? No? Just me? Cool, fine, whatever.
Back in the good old days, video games were pretty much all repetitive. You didn't have fancy modern indulgences like checkpoints and quick saves and branching storylines or free roaming. You just had a few lives and a high score to beat over and over again, which meant that you often spent the first few minutes of every game grinding through the same low-level enemies or levels until the challenge got ramped up and things got interesting. Geometry Wars Retro Evolved is for me the purest throwback to that golden age of gaming. In Retro Evolve mode, you start with 3 lives, 3 bombs, and a steady flow of enemies you'd sleepwalk through until things went absolutely mental and suddenly you're soaked in sweat and smashing your controller off the wall because you've just missed your mate's high score by 10,000 points. And in a way, those repetitive quiet moments at the start of each Geo Wars round are my favourite bits of the game. They're like a little zen oasis in a noisy desert of madness, a mental reset button before the bullet storm begins again. The developer also recognised that during these calm moments, players would often make up ways to entertain themselves, like not moving or not shooting any enemies for as long as possible, which led to the iconic pacifism achievement. You can experience the repetitive glory of Geometry Wars Retro Evolved on your Xbox 360 for a few quid, or Geometry Wars 3 Dimensions on Xbox One brings the whole package up to date with new modes, new visuals, but the same brain-melting shooting.
People sometimes think that games being repetitive is a bad thing, and I guess it just kind of depends on your perspective. Sometimes you try your hardest, but you just manage to mess things up. And wouldn't it be great to go back to the start and have a do-over and, do it better next time? Well, Hitman gives us the chance to pull off the perfect assassination, or, like a really sloppy one just for the fun of it. It all kind of depends on your mood. You might feel like sniping. Go ahead. Want to hide in a cupboard this time? You work it. Why not poison his cake or replace his replica gun with a real one? The options are endless and also super satisfying. I mean, why kill your target only once when you can kill them over and over and over? It's the Groundhog Day of games. Every time you learn a little bit more and you become a little bit better at being an amazing assassin. Plus also, calories don't count. Just steer clear of the cake.
My next repetitive game that we all love is Angry Birds. I'm sorry, they're just one of my favorite gaming brands around. I love to have all the big, giant, soft, cuddly toy versions of each of them. Don't hate, because I know you would as well. But it doesn't take away from the fact the game is so repetitive. You pull your slingshot back and then fire birds to take out pigs and the structures that they're hiding in. There are a load of different types of birds which have different characteristics. First up, there is the red bird, which has no special power and really is just the bowling ball of all the birds. There is then the blue birds, which split into 3 small birds spreading the damage. You then have the yellow bird, aka Chuck, or the triangle as I like to call him, who is the kamikaze bird, which will just accelerate and cause absolute chaos. There are then just loads more. You've got Bomb, you then have Matilda, you then have Howl, and then also my favorite, the big red bird, aka Terrence. Overall, the game does get quite repetitive, more challenging, yes, but it's effectively the same thing over and over again, which you just can't put down.
Based off of the 1976 arcade game Blockade, Snake had you playing as a lion with stripes and a forked tongue if you have the posh version that would go around eating dots. Each dot would be added onto the end of your line, then you'd eat the next dot, which would be added onto the end of your line, and so on and so forth. The aim was to eat as many dots as possible whilst avoiding bumping into any walls or yourself, which gradually got harder and harder as you got bigger and the game got faster. For those of you like me who are in your 20s, the first mobile phone you desperately wanted would most likely have been a Nokia like my 3330. Snake was preloaded onto these, and I don't even want to guess the number of hours my friends and I spent playing this game, trying to beat each other's scores at the youth club I went to. Seriously, Snake scores come with some real bragging rights. In fact, some legends even speak of players creating such big lines that they filled up the entire screen. Their scores are etched into the great stone leaderboard of gaming history, and we will forever honour them.
The first Portal wasn't a success because it had a huge marketing budget or had hundreds of hours of gameplay. In fact, it was positively short and had features cut before release. It was a success because it took that elegant central idea and blew your mind with all the different ways it could challenge you. Using the blue and orange portals to get into different areas or transport cubes to where you wanted them was just the start. Once the game started throwing gravity and momentum puzzles at you, it got really interesting. I've still never played a game that made me feel like such a clueless numpty 1 second and such a genius in the next when you finally crack a puzzle. Portal 2's challenge was to develop the core mechanic without overdoing it and making it too complicated, and it did an incredible job. By adding new stuff like hard light bridges, aerial faith plates, and gels, the sequel built on those beautifully repetitive foundations without crushing them. And of course, the whole thing was wrapped with an amazing story and sense of place, phenomenal voice acting.
So there's nothing to stop us from testing for the rest of your life. After that, who knows? I might take up a hobby. Reanimating the dead, maybe.
And some pretty memorable tunes. So next time you're the head of a fancy pants video game company and someone comes in to pitch a game to you, give them a chance, eh? Portal Still Alive is available as a backward compatible title on Xbox One, and I managed to get through that whole thing without mentioning cake once. Damn it.
Anyway, this cake is great. It's so delicious and moist.
Well, there you go, folks. I hope you enjoyed it, and if you've got any repetitive games of your own that you absolutely love, let us know in the comments below.
And if you really enjoyed this video, do be sure to give us a thumbs up. And of course, hit subscribe because all of the content is equally ridiculous, stroke, awesome.
And we'll see you guys next time. Bye.